Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a bunch of friends gather together to share albums with each other one at a time, like a little book club for music. It's fun. We kind of, it's a fun time to follow along as well. I'm Stevie Ray, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
We're here to talk about some Sugar Ray.
Yeah. We've got Drew.
Who wants to know?
Yes. And we've got David.
Hi. You did that wrong. The way that you always do that, Drew. But I enjoy.
Yes. We're here to talk about an album like we do on a weekly basis. Or, well, I mean, we do it. You experience it on a week. We do it not so much on a weekly basis.
Kind of
but
whenever.
You experience it on a weekly basis, and that's all that matters. Just don't pay attention to how many times our clothes repeat. We're talking about an album once again. We're talking about music. The provider of the album this week is Drew. Drew, what do you have for us this week?
Well, I figured it was a time for a little bit of the blues. So deciding between a few different albums and a few different musicians, I figured I'd pick possibly one of, if not the greatest guitar player ever in Stevie Ray Vaughan, and the album In Step.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about expectations. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
PD Rave, I want to say thanks to Drew because I want to express my appreciation over the fact that, well, quite frankly, this is another softball for me. This is not my first go-round with the Texas-based trio known as Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. This particular album, In Step, is in my opinion, a pretty enjoyable experience. Is it couldn't stand the weather? No. But, hey, it's Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm a fan. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, when it comes to Drew, you expect more the minor threats out of step than in step, but the themes are very similar. Stay off of the blow, kids. This is the we're not on drugs. Stevie Ray Vaughan, which is definitely a short period of Stevie Ray Vaughan, because we didn't have much Stevie Ray Vaughan after this. But no, I'm a guy who used to work in a store that sold guitars. I know something about Stevie Ray Vaughan, whether I want to or not.
Was there maybe a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan played on the radio at the place where you worked?
It's like Stevie Ray Vaughan exists.
How many times have you, Brett? How many times have you heard "The Sky Is Crying"?
I have heard so many people grab a tube screamer and go to a Fender and try and like beat the crap out of their guitar like Stevie Ray. Yeah, I've been there to see people try and manhandle.
You've seen a lot of Stevie Ray attempted.
I'm not telling anybody to stop doing that. It's not a bad thing. Every day gets a little old.
Do it. We're not saying don't do it. We're saying maybe don't do it in every Guitar Center you go to. Those people have heard it before.
Yeah.
Like maybe
go to a Guitar Center and terrorize those people. But if you go to any other kind of music store, be kind to them.
If you go to a small time music store,
like don't
there's
annoy
two of them in the area.
Like retire.
Maybe 10 Pin Alley. Play 10 Pin Alley. Switch it up.
Yeah. Let's talk about this album music. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements?
Well, Brett sort of brought up part of the reason why I picked this record.
White people?
Yeah, white people. No. Yes, it is made by white people. They're from Texas. That's sort of what it is.
Blues.
That's okay.
By white people.
It's okay.
There's black people in Texas.
Yes, there are white people in Texas.
There's black people in Texas.
And there are black people in Texas. But In Step, part of the reason I brought it was there isn't much Stevie Ray Vaughan created after he got off of all of the drugs. And it's something that I think is still good. There's a lot of good Stevie Ray Vaughan directly after the drugs in a very short period of time. The thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan is in Double Trouble in general, I don't want to bury them either, because yes, Stevie Ray Vaughan is an insane guitar player, as you probably well know by now. Again, softballs. But Double Trouble keeps up, and Jesus Christ, do they have a lot of legwork to keep up. But they do it, and they do it really well. The thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan that I love is the sort of technicality and how he builds a solo and a song and the build up to it. Not only that, but this album in general, there's a lot of like, the guitar playing is out of this world. The solos are out of this world. But in every song, if you're looking for it, there is a constant pounding of the ivories that is going on that is also just a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy to this record from front to back. And I think that's very much on purpose.
It's a happy blues album.
Yeah. Like, which is weird for the blues. Like,
but if you consider the time, the context, and the man, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And utter travesty that we lost him when we did, but there's still a lot of good music in there, and I think that's what's great about this record, is that you hear someone that is picking out standards, writing his own songs, that is something that these songs are picked for a very particular reason. If you listen to it, blues, yes, is about sad things most of the time, but it's also like, it's very much about life and about the person, and I think Stevie Ray Vaughan put a lot of that in this record, and I think that's pretty great.
David, how would you describe this album musically?
It is a happy Stevie Ray Vaughan album. It is a Stevie Ray Vaughan album of a man that has gone through a hell of a lot and has come out maybe not necessarily in one piece, not necessarily the same person, but a little bit better emotionally and personally and spiritually than he was before, but not forgetting the struggles. And also Double Trouble is still there, and they're still great.
Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I mean, this is an album that won a contemporary blues Grammy, which, it's contemporary. It really, you go through the staff on this album. I've never actually heard his name spelled, or spoken aloud, but Reese Winans, the guy playing the piano, like you'll see him everywhere. He is everywhere. Like, I turned on PBS and he was playing piano for Joe Bonamassa, which I guess is what he does. But like he's been everywhere. Chris Layton plays with Kenny Wayne Shepherd and Tommy Shannon's gone around, played with all of the aged rockers, and white dudes blues, that genre that Stevie Ray kind of invented. Now moving to the guitar part, all the other guys are great too. They're good at what they do, but like this whole band sort of set up a whole generation of people who picked up the guitar to play the white guy blues, which is not, I'm not saying that in a certain way. It's just not old blues. It's not the, it's older than the 60s, is old. This stuff is the modern, where you get like, you still get your Hammond organ and you still get your boogies and your 12 bars and all of that. But
there is some rock influenced distortion.
Yeah, there's like a straight up a Hendrix song in here. Kinda. There's a Pink Floyd themed song, like kind of feeling song that hangs out in there. And Stevie Ray Vaughan was a big huge guy, big huge fan of a guy that I follow in the jazz world, that's Kenny Burrell. that sort of has like blues with a suit and tie on kind of jazz, where it's like instead of crazy bends all the time, it's a little more sliding in and out, but it's pretty much blues. He does some really cool things with the guitar. It's obviously influencing. Anytime you walk into a Guitar Center, you'll hear somebody playing something. Like this is important stuff for the instrument and the genre. But vocally, I've always thought Stevie sounded kind of silly. He kind of dresses like a clown. It's unmistakable and unique. His branding was on point. This album, I really haven't listened to a ton of Stevie. We played a lot of live Stevie stuff. Like his version of Little Wing is great, but like, this album is quality shit, and it's a good recording, and it's the tone that everybody is chasing after. So it's definitely worth it's something we can talk about. We have the vocabulary to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. It's iconically that blues sound like that. Like Brett said, that white guy blues, but that blues, rock, soul, like, feeling sound that is just it'll get your toes tapping sometimes, and it is
you might even say, PD Rave, it'll get the house rocking.
The house was in fact a rocking.
We'll get your mom and her sisters to dance.
Yes. The dance by
Yes, Elaine dancing.
Yeah, white girl dances. All up and down the county fair. But let's talk about some of the key tracks. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, yeah, the house is a rockin'. It's a classic song, and I think for good reason. Like Brett made mention of, Reese pounding on a goddamn keyboard is phenomenal. It's a dancey rhythm. It's a all-time classic to me. Leave My Girl Alone. The solo in that song is just astounding. It's one of those things that just like sort of drops your jaw. And the other one that I want to bring up is the last one on the non-reissue, which is Riviera Paradise. It's a 9-minute like bluesy, jazzy instrumental that just feels like even if it had another 4 minutes tacked onto it of this, I still would want more. It was just this just cool, sort of relaxed track that just had all the technicality and all the style that you want out of a Stevie Ray Vaughan solo, and a Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble like solo, but it's an entire instrumental full of them, and it's like, okay, I can deal with this. I can deal with it.
You definitely fucks with this. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Oh man, this album is chock full of them. Chock full of songs from Stevie Ray Vaughan that I enjoyed. Love Me Darlin'. I feel like this kind of speaks for itself. God, it's kind of hard for me to talk about this because, again, it's a softball. To me, Stevie Ray Vaughan is just, he's a brand that doesn't need much extrapolation, but I'm going to try. Crossfire, especially the out to that song, where in the latter half, Stevie Ray just kind of opts to take his guitar and just go wild at the very end with the outro. And again, Leave My Girl Alone. That one is about as prime a Stevie Ray Vaughan song as you can ask for. It is a microcosm of Stevie Ray Vaughan, save for his version of Voodoo Child. That is a perfectly placed Stevie Ray Vaughan song.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
The house is a rockin'. This album doesn't take too long to show you that there are other people in the band. It's the piano on this song stands out, and without it, the song would be less. And it has a pretty okay walking bass line. Crossfire. This is the only track on this album to chart. And I don't even know which chart it charted on or which sub chart, but it's It's something that you hear in the wild more often than just about anything else on this, at least in my day to day. But this is not a song I've ever heard anybody play in a music store. "Leave My Girl Alone" is the Red House of this album. It is a classic blues jam with the organ. But the organ and the guitar both are super on point. It's that tone that people are going for all the time and will never get. It's pretty. It is a tired song progression that has plenty of life in it. It's a good time. And Riviera Paradise, as Drew was saying, it is 9 minutes long. And it's this weird instrumental trippy fusion track where it's your last chance if you have not been impressed on this album. Here you go. Have this Wes Montgomery-esque slide octave portion. How about you have that at about the 6 minute mark? It's not exactly a hot club banger, but it's noteworthy. Like, it's very ethereal. He holds a note for a long time before he does the stuff. So like it kind of. It's different, but it's good. It's all wonderful because guess what? We're not getting any more. So let's enjoy the good stuffs.
I now want to hear.
There's a lot of good.
I want to hear a drum and bass remix of Riviera Paradise. Like, there's a sick part of my brain that wants to hear a drum and bass remix.
Before you die, there's going to be
I just kind of want to hear Red House now. I just kind of want to hear Red House.
Yes.
I mean, I know her sister will. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around.
Any of the 8,914 renditions of that song that are out there.
I mean, I would put up any good quality Red House versus a good Little Wing, like have a tournament bracket.
Agreed.
Of Red Houses versus Little Wings.
A whole tournament like Sweet 16 or beyond, like of 64 different renditions of different standard blues rock standards.
And the champion takes on Voodoo Child.
No. That's the Voodoo Child is you got to have some weird version that we're in Record Breakers the bracket.
Yes,
Voodoo Child is the grand champion.
If we can only get like a Mugen software where we can have these songs fight it out while people bet.
Yes.
Salty music. Let's go.
And of course, the representative for Voodoo Child would be some kind of Hulk Hogan sprite.
No, not Hulk Hogan.
No,
be
that's
the sprite from what was it? Not Deadliest Warriors. The fake Hulk Hogan that shows up all the time on Salty Bet.
Yeah,
brother.
Yes, perfect. That one, even better.
And I'm out.
Back to the Salty Minds.
Back to the Salty Minds. Yes. Those are fantastic tracks. I can't even add another track. I think you all nailed the as far
Scratch
as like
and Sniff. I dug Scratch and Sniff too.
I'll give it a shout out to
licks.
Yeah, it's got some cool licks. The Tightrope is great. The House is Rockin' is a fantastic opener. It just is fantastic tracks all around. Let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
It's an incredible tragedy that we lost Stevie Ray Vaughan not long after this album came out, and the album that he did with his brother, Jimmy Vaughan, as well. Because, in my opinion, Stevie Ray Vaughan was still in his prime. And if I were around at that time, I would have been excited to see what he had next, because I believe he was an overwhelming talent, and he had a fantastic band behind him as well. As I said, it's not my favorite Stevie Ray Vaughan album, but it's a pretty damn good album.
Yeah. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I'm wondering if Stevie Ray lived, would he be like all the other like rockers of old that came back? Like would Puff Daddy be doing a Stevie Ray Vaughan song with an orchestral backing track? Like
I imagine Stevie Ray would have stayed in like the dive bars with Buddy Guy or something.
No, he'd be hanging out with Dickie Betts and there would be he would be on PBS doing something, either that or he would have disappointed us in his old age. We never know. We don't get to have that fun. Instead, we get to listen to this album, which is pretty okay. Like I prefer like Stevie Ray in a live music form, because that's kind of where, like, if you're going to be being impressed by somebody on a stage on a video shot in the 80s is always a fun time.
Yeah.
But catch that performance from Austin City Limits if you get the chance.
Yeah, like
yes.
That man will get sweaty and he will play guitar, and he won't do the John Mayer like I'm having an orgasm while I play a guitar face, but he will definitely make a guitar face.
His guitar face is more like I'm passing a kidney stone.
Yeah, he's like the I'm in pain, not the I'm in extreme ecstasy. My favorite is Red Volkert's I have the tastiest hard candy in my mouth look that he has, like where he's just like, this Werther's. But yeah, guitar playing face, it's a thing.
All the greats have it.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's was uniquely miserable. Him.
He was gumming because he was too high on coke.
Yes, gumming. So we can probably just set up the cousin to the website Drummin' or Comin' called. All right. Like I was about to say, we can make our cousin website to the website Drumming or Coming. Maybe call it Shredding or Shitting. It's like. All right, Drew.
Okay, Petey, what did you bring me into this podcast for again?
We I don't want to say.
We followed the Rooney Rule.
Guess that's the only reason I've gotten in.
I mean, just makes sure that we interview people. We actually hired you.
Yes, exactly. Drew,
quota.
Yes, Drew. What would be your conclusive thoughts at the end? Well, actually, let me actually give mine. I should actually contribute. I want to say, like, this is a really great record. It's a really easy record to talk about. It's a really fantastic, like, musically. It's fun. It's of a time but timeless. It's really well made. Stevie Ray Vaughan is fantastic. Double Trouble is fantastic. There's moments in the album where it does feel like blues guitar porn, which is like the lyrics of the song that just exist there to like construct the plot to get to the next money shot, which is the next lick. But there are some great songs in here that are actually well written and are indicative of where Stevie's head was at the time. But yeah, overall, this is an easy record to talk about. That being said, all right, Drew, finally, what would be your conclusive thoughts at the end of it all?
Well, one thought I just had was, if we're filling quotas, David, if I quit this podcast, do you need to get a woman? Is that like the next step? Is that where we're going?
What's up, Meg? What's up, Meg?
Hey, bring in more ghosts. But the thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan, and to touch on it, is that I feel like in genres, especially when they're as long and as storied a history as something like the blues has, you have those moments where somebody comes along and sort of creates the new tone, right? They create the new sound that everybody is going to like sort of shoot for. And
like what
blues,
Marty McFly did with that telephone when he was at his mom's high school dance, and he's like, hey, Chuck, this is the sound you're looking for.
Listen to this.
And Marty McFly created rock and roll. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have your guys like Marty McFly and Buddy Guy and B.B. King, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, I think, rightly so, should get a mention in those type of guys in like just sort of setting a tone and sort of being something that he is so good that it's the often imitated, never duplicated problem, right? It is, there are tons of guitar players that will want to be like Stevie Ray Vaughan. They will try to imitate him, but the things that he did and how he came at a song and how he came at a solo was just something that was astounding. It was fun. Yes, the live records do show some more of his virtuosity, as it were. But to me, this was sort of the reason I love this record a lot was the jubilation of it. The sort of him coming out of that and saying like, hey, I've conquered this. And yes, there's still things ahead of me that I need to conquer as well and I need to get through, but like, let's have fun with the moment. Let's celebrate what this moment is for me right now. And I think that's something that it was not even a year later when the helicopter crashed, and we don't have that anymore. And I feel there's a lot of what ifs when a musician or an actor or anybody, an artist dies this young. And I think Deej said it. He was still in his prime. There was still a lot of good guitar playing left from this man. And we got to enjoy what we have of him. And I don't think it's not hard to pick an album from Stevie Ray Vaughan because all of them are very good. I just happened to pick this one because it was the last one with Double Trouble and something I think is a cool story.
Check out Couldn't Stand the Weather.
Couldn't Stand the
Also,
Weather is a great fucking album.
If I've learned anything from aging rock and rollers and blues people, that he would be playing until they can't put him on a stage somewhere at a dinner theater in Branson.
Buddy Guy is still going up on stage, and that dude's like 87.
He also owns a club, so he can go on his own.
He can
club
go
stage
whenever he
too.
wants.
Yes,
True.
So
But he's also at like those like big giant festivals, and
he's like, look at
that,
me,
where
and
it's
my
like,
polka
oh,
dotted
hey,
guitar.
Here's Jeff Beck and John Mayer and Buddy Guy and like all
Dickie Betts,
like
Warren Haynes,
5,000 old timers, and then John Mayer.
If you want longevity, go with the blues.
That's right. Works for John Mayer on both ends of his musical sandwich.
It's true.
Yes, I just rolled my eyes, everybody. You saw that.
We don't have no PD audio.
Lost Petey.
I was
Hello.
like, man, he's being really quiet.
Sorry. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get down to the main event of the evening. And that's not me snorting the snot out of my nose. Therefore needing to mute the mic. It's our haikus.
The double trouble of lines.
Yes. We'll do our haiku reviews. Moment we've all been waiting for. Let's get down to it. Let's do it to it. David, what is your haiku?
Swangin' blues rock jams. That's swangin' with an A. From one of the all-time greats. He was in his prime.
Yes. Brett, what is your haiku?
Swang in with an A. One of the good ones. The Sobriety album. Influential stuff.
Yeah. My haiku, unrivaled skill set, a master craftsman at work. This house is rockin'. I couldn't add the and after is because there have been too many syllables. But Drew, what is your haiku?
One of the greatest, and nearing where he'd leave us. One gone far too soon.
Yeah.
Like every time that came up on that song, yeah.
Yeah.
Like cut, yeah. There's nothing else in the mix. It's just
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic stuff. That's Stevie Ray Vaughan. You can, of course, find that on our Spotify playlist, unlike last week's record. This one you can find on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. We should have more chicks on this show. Wait, that was an in between this discussion, but let's. That's something we talked about in between. Now that I think about it, you didn't hear about that. It's weird. Like it's like when we reference. It's like when we reference pre-show the show.
Today.
It's like when we reference shit we talk about on pre-show the show. Except for that.
Yeah, WMAC Masters. Like, what's you want to know? You're never gonna hear it.
You can at me at Call Me DJM anytime you want to talk about.
You can at me
Masters.
At the Swagger.
Yes. But the reason I was thinking about that is because barring a guest, which we don't know if we're gonna have a guest. There's some like downtime between when we can record next, but barring a guest, next week's record will be provided by me, and my album pick is gonna be a cool, interesting, really fun album from my teen years, I guess, or when did this come out? This came out in my 98, so yeah, my teen years.
Yep.
Very much my teen years. And it's something that I remember. And it was an album I remember fondly. It was a fantastic album. Obsolete by the band Fear Factory.
I was 10.
It's the one with the one song by Gary Newman.
Yes.
Oh, it's that one. Okay.
Yes.
So now I definitely remember that.
But aside from that, it's also I'm bringing my own concept album. It's
read that screenplay.
Yes, they actually did have like a little storytelling liner notes in the album.
Concept albums, rock operas.
Yes,
this isn't an opera per se.
Not an opera, but it is a concept album. So
it's a little crunchy to be an opera.
Yes.
Yeah, a little more just like a Dreamcast than Wagner, but it's
still fantastic. And we'll be talking about that next week. But that is next week, and this is this week. And you can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at HibbittyBirbert HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XTruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for listening to other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube. On Twitch. I don't know. Maybe at some point. I haven't done anything, but who knows. But you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think of the album that we're talking about in any given episode. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your haikus as well.
Squiggles, how do you like this album you've never heard before? Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes, Squiggles. All 3 of you loyal listeners, we'd love to hear your feedback.
And all the people commenting on the Fugees album, we love you too.
Yes. You won't hear this, but we love you too.
We're real white. How you doing?
I don't.
Except for Dean.
Yeah, but he wasn't on that episode.
No. He was, and you know what? He wasn't. Before you make any comments, that was a different black guy.
I'm the one that wears glasses.
Exactly. But that's it. The podcast things, like, share, subscribe, do all things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Bye bye.
Toodaloo.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.